Good evening guys, hello and welcome back to this channel. On today's video I will be speaking about demonic possession and how it works exactly. So we will study the different levels and the different types of demonic possession, what causes or allows demonic possession in the life of a Christian, and we are going to see how to recognize different kinds of spirits. So this is a part of a series that I will call War School, the War School of Jesus Christ, and it is the name of my other channel on YouTube, War School of Jesus Christ, and you can check it if you want. So I will be speaking about demonic possession, and the first thing I want to mention when it comes to demonic possession is that demonic possession is tied to your lifestyle. Even born-again Christians can be possessed if they choose to live in sin. This is the first thing I want you guys to understand. So I'm gonna show this picture right here. So here you have an illustration that I made. On the left side you have a Christian who lives in a sanctification, and on the right side a Christian who lives in sin, right? So what you are going to observe is that when a Christian lives in sanctification, demons do not have access to this Christian. They cannot possess him or even oppress him or control him. Demonic possession is only possible against a Christian who chooses to live in sin. Why is that so? Many people assume that Christians cannot be possessed by demons, but that's not how things work exactly. The truth is that God is fair. Jesus Christ is fair with everyone. He's just. He's a just God, and he's also just with Satan and his demons. He's just with us Christians, but he's also just with his enemies. So if as a Christian you choose to live in sin, and Satan claims to God the right to certain parts of your life and the right to possess you, since God's justice is universal, including with Satan, God has to concede that right to Satan. So if you live in sin, you can become demonically possessed. Even as a born-again Christian, if you choose to live in sin, you can be possessed. But if you live in sanctification, what you are going to observe, I think that the illustration I made is accurate, because what you are going to observe is that when a Christian lives in sin, in the supernatural realm, it looks like there is a white flame around him and there is a light around his head, so witches cannot even approach him. So that's kind of what you look like as a Christian in the supernatural realm when you live in sanctification, and demons cannot get close to you because of the glory of the God which covers you. As you can see on those pictures, the person on the left side has white clothes because he lives in sanctification, and the one on the one on the right side has gray dark clothes because he lives in sin. So in the invisible realm, when you live in sanctification, the Holy Spirit is in control of your life and your body, and you burn, you shine like a bright flame, and demons cannot approach you, they cannot even touch you. So if as a Christian you sanctify yourself, you cannot be possessed or oppressed by demons, but if you do not, you can definitely be possessed by demons. That's the first thing to remember in this war school. The second thing, the amount of control that a demon can have over a human being is associated with the level of sin of that human being. Yes. The extent to which a demon can control you or influence your life is dependent on the level of sin in your life. People like to say that all sins are sin. That's true, but different levels of sin have different consequences, and that's something you need to remember as a Christian. So look at this image here. So you have you have the same person but in three different levels of sin, right? So the first person, let's say that he's a lustful person. So he does not struggle with fornication yet, but he struggles with self pleasure. That's one level of sin. That's the first level of lust, and a demon has control over him. The second person struggles with fornication and adultery. That's the second level. And at that level, the demon even has more control over the life of that person. The third person struggles with, let's say, homosexual desires. And that's the third level. So for each level of sin, whatever type of sin it is, it might be sexual sins, it might be lies or thief, whatever type of sin it is, for each level of sin, there is a different level of demonic possession and control. The greater your level of sin is, the more control and power Satan and his kingdom can have over you. 3. A demon will always do its best to bring the human it controls deeper into sin so it can have more control over him. So remember, in the second place, I said that what did I say? I said that the amount of control a demon can have over a human being is associated with the level of sin of that human. Demons know that rule. So what they are going to do often is that they are going to try to push you further into your sin. That's why the people who steal an egg one day steal a cow, as the French people like to say. Celui qui vole un œuf volera un bœuf. So when a demon possesses you, it's going to bring you further and further into your sin. So it can have more control over you. So this is an example. At the first level, you have jealousy and envy. So that's an example, right? You have jealousy and envy. And that brings a demon to possess someone, because jealousy is a sin and envy is a sin. And now this demon will begin to influence the desires of that person. You will push that person to more and more jealousy and envy, until that jealousy and that envy become hatred and resentment. And that's the second level. At that level, he has even more control over you, and he can even push you further. And the third level, the hatred and the resentment, which started with jealousy, at the third level, it's going to become murder. That's the reason why Cain killed his brother Abel. And that's also the reason why Joseph's brothers tried to kill him. It started all with jealousy and envy. That jealousy became hatred and resentment. And that resentment becomes murder. That's why Jesus Christ said that if you hate someone in your heart, you are a murderer. Because that hatred, demons can use that hatred to push you to kill that person. Right? So when a demon comes into your life because of a certain type of sin, that demon is almost always going to try to bring you further and further into your sin. So it can have more control over you, and it can cause more destruction over your life. In this example, if you have jealousy in your heart and envy in your heart, you need to deal with it, because if you do not, that jealousy will become hatred, and that hatred one day is going to become murder. That's the reason why many successful young people, when they go and they study abroad and they come back, they get poisoned by their own friends. It did not start just like that. Those friends who poison other people, it started with jealousy and envy. But because they did not deal with it, that jealousy became hatred, and that hatred became a murder. So when a demon possesses you, it's always going to do its best to bring you further and further into sin, so it can have more control over you and cause more destruction into your life, and even use you to destroy other people's lives. Rule number 4. The power of the demon possessing and controlling a human being is proportional to the level of sin of this human being. So this is the example that I'm going to give. So at one level, you have someone who struggles with masturbation, but it can also be someone who struggles with greed. So you have that third level. But when you don't deal with those things, and at some point those things at the second level become fornication and adultery, that allows a more powerful demon to enter your life and control you even more. Because the power of the demon that can possess you is tied to the level of sin in your life. The more you sin, the more powerful the demon that has the right to control you. That's how things work in the invisible realm. The more you sin, the more powerful the demon that can control your life. And that's why at certain levels of sin it is so difficult to get delivered. Because you are not wrestling against a low level demon, you are struggling against a principality, a dominion, a very high level demon. So the further you go into your sin, the more powerful the demons that can possess and oppress you. You need to remember that rule as a Christian. In this war school, we need to remember those rules. So you have also great that becomes trahison, like in the case of Judas who sold Jesus Christ for 30 pieces of silver. He literally sold the God of the universe. That's how far great led him. 5. I know this might be controversial for some people, but I'm going to say it anyway. Let me wipe my face a little bit. Okay. 5. Most human beings are possessed and do not understand it. They are possessed by what we can describe as sleeper agents. There are different levels of demonic possession. Yes. So there are different levels of demonic possession, but I'm going to speak of that thing called the sleeper agent at level 1. At level 1, that's the first level of demonic possession, and I believe that there are 3 major levels, and we are going to talk about it now. Level 1, the victim does not know that he is possessed. The goal of the demon possessing him is to make himself as small as possible. That demon will influence the life of the man, but will not oppress him as long as that man lives in sin. The main goal of the demon at that level of possession is surveillance and monitoring. Yes. So at the first level, which most human beings have, I do not know if I can put numbers of it on this thing, but if I have to, maybe 90% of the human race has that kind of demon, sleeper agents. The thing is, those demons are extremely quiet most of the time. What is their goal? As long as you live in the life of sin, and even if you are not a Christian, you are an atheist, and you think you don't need Jesus Christ, they are going to leave you alone. Even though they are possessing you and they are living inside you, they are going to stay as quiet as they can, because they don't want you to know about their presence. They are only going to become more active when they see that you start to get closer to Jesus Christ and heaven. So those kind of demons are never going to disturb you. They are going to make themselves as quiet as possible. That's why I call them the sleeper agents, like the sleeper agents that you have in espionage. So a sleeper agent is usually at the first level of demonic possession, and his goal is to make himself small and to just surveil you, to monitor you and to watch you from the inside of your body. So when he's possessing you, he's watching your daily activities and how you do. As long as you live in sin, and as long as you don't have Jesus Christ, they are never going to disturb you. They are going to stay quiet, because they don't want you to know that they exist. So they are going to leave you alone. As long as you are on the path to hell, they are never going to disturb you. You need to know that. It's only when you start to wake up that they are going to start bothering you. The second level of demonic possession. The victim is more oppressed. The demon often influences the emotions of its victim and the desires, which can lead to violent reactions in some circumstances. The heart of the victim is hardened and the sin becomes the new standard for the victim. He goes deeper and deeper into his sin and is tightly bound by evil spirit. At this stage, the victim still has control of his body. This is important to remember. But his nature, his emotion, and even his personality are being changed over time due to the influence of the evil spirits. The goal at this level of demonic possession is enslavement. It is about keeping the victim in a life of slavery to sin and imprison him in that lifestyle. So at the first level, they are not really trying to imprison you, but they are just trying to monitor and surveil you. As long as you don't have Jesus Christ and you live in sin, they are never going to disturb you. They are going to leave you alone. It's only when you try to get close to Jesus Christ that they are going to go from the first level to the second level. And at this level, you have demonic oppression. Not only they possess you, but they will start to oppress you. So they are going to push you further and further into your sin. If your sin is great, they are going to push you further into great. If it is lies or manipulation, they are going to make you more manipulative toward people. If your sin is lust, they are going to make you more lustful. They are going to take you and try their best to make you sin as much as they can, because they see that now you start to get close to Jesus Christ, and they don't want that to happen. So they will cause you to sin more and more and more, so they can have more control over you. As we said, the level of control that a demon has over you is tied to your level of sin. So at that stage, they are going to cause you to sin as much as possible, so they can control you even more. And at that stage, you are going to see that they start to influence your emotions and your desires. Sometimes there is a small situation, you don't even have to overreact, but you respond in a violent way, and you don't even know why. It's only when the thing is over that you start to think about what you just did. Sometimes you are going to observe situations like that. That can be due to demonic oppression. So the goal at the second level of possession is enslavement. Now the goal at the first level is monitoring. The goal at the second level is enslavement. Now they are trying to enslave you to sin, so you cannot get close to Jesus Christ. They are trying to enslave you as much as they can to prevent you from getting closer to the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the second level. Now the third level of demonic possession, that is the most brutal level. At this stage, the demon has a very high level of control over his victim. The victim often loses the ability to control his body. He goes through dark phases during which the demon completely takes control of his body and speaks and acts for him. The man in the Bible who was possessed by a legion of demons and came to Jesus is a good example of that kind of level of demonic possession. Due to the demonic control, the victim's body can often show superhuman strength and ability, just as the man from the Bible could break iron chains. Yes, he could do that. He could destroy the chains. He was so wild that people tried to chain him, but every time he kept destroying the chains. That's how strong the demons inside him made him. This level of possession often requires rituals, witchcraft, traumatic events, or even abuse. It is often the cause of dissociative identity disorder. This level of possession is the one at which are often the occultists of the highest level. So one thing I would like you to notice is that at the two first level of demonic possession, you still have full control of your body and you know what you are doing. But at the third level, you are so possessed that the demons can literally take control of your body and speak for you. And someone from the outside will not even be able to know whether they are talking to you or to a demon. So you will have dark phases, dark times during which you have no idea what you did. You just wake up in a certain place and you don't know how you got there, because the demon spoke for you and did things for you and brought you there. So at the third level of demonic possession, sometimes the demon has total control over your body. That was the case with the man in the Bible who came to Jesus Christ with a legion of demons. The demons could literally speak for his mouth. That's the highest level of demonic possession. And as I said, this level of demonic possession is often tied to what we call dissociative identity disorder. The people who have multiple personalities. Many times those personalities are actually familiar spirits or demons possessing them. That's how it works. So you need to remember all of those information, because we are going to be critical in the next for the next videos. We are going to study self-deliverance step by step. Alright, number 6. A demon who possesses a human being aims to maintain that person in a life of sin. Until the person ends up in hell. If the demon gets expelled through deliverance, it will receive the torture its victim was supposed to endure. Yes. That's how the kingdom of Satan works. In Satan's kingdom, there's no such thing as mercy or pardon. If as a demon If a demon has been assigned to someone, to a human being in particular, and that demon fails and gets kicked out, it's going to get punished. But if that demon succeeds and brings that human being to die in sin and go to hell, it's going to receive a medal, a reward. That's how the kingdom of Satan works. I remember I saw this video on YouTube where there was a girl being delivered by the pastor, and the demon started to speak for the girl, and the demon was complaining about returning to hell because he knew that when he got kicked out, he was going to get tortured again. I think the title of the video is Regrets of a Fallen Angel Moment Before Being Cast Out. That's the title of the video, I think. So the demon was complaining about all the torture that it was going to go through. The reason sometimes why demons are so merciless is because Satan has constructed the system of his kingdom in such a way that if a demon shows mercy to a human being, that demon is going to get punished severely. It's going to get tortured. So if a demon has been assigned to a human being and fails and gets kicked out, it's going to get tortured and destroyed. That's why usually, mark my words, that's why usually the most peaceful place for a demon is the body of a human being. The most peaceful place for a demon, it can be the body of an animal, but usually the most peaceful place for a demon is the body of a human being. As long as he's in there, Satan is not going to try to disturb him. That's why demons seek so often to control and possess people. As long as they live there, no one is going to bother them. But if they fail at their mission and they get kicked out and their victim gets delivered, they are going to get brutally tortured in hell. And Satan does that to intimidate every other demon, because he wants to send a message. If I send you to destroy the life of a Christian or a human being and you fail, that's what's going to happen to you. That's how the system is organized. So this is a brutal war, and as a Christian you cannot afford to sleep, because those entities, those spirits have no mercy. They are ruthless. You cannot afford to sleep as a Christian, and you need to take up your sword and fight back. So if a demon gets kicked out, usually it's going to get tortured in the place of his victim. 7. When demons get inherited through bloodline, yes, because there's also demonic possession through the bloodline. If they are not kicked out, they will inflict significantly more damage to the next generations. I'm going to use the example of King David and King Solomon. I believe that King David was possessed by water spirit. Yes, he had the spirit of God, but I also believe that he was possessed by water spirits. That's the reason why he had such a hard time controlling his lust. How is it possible that a man that he dealt with in the desert, when this man dies, he sends people to invite his wife and marry his wife? That's something I did not completely agree with. I think the name of the wife is in French Abigail. So Abigail will be Abigail, I don't know. I think it was Abigail. So David sent people to get that woman, and then later he sent people to get the daughter of Saul. So they forcefully took her from her husband, and they brought her to King David. And then what did he do later? He killed a man to steal his wife. David had water spirits, and because he did not deal with that sin, the demons kept pushing him further and further, and they had more and more control over him until they pushed him to kill a man to steal his wife. David was possessed by water spirits. And what happened to Solomon? Those spirits were transmitted to Solomon through bloodline. Sometimes the reason why you are demonically possessed or oppressed is not because you sin, but because of your bloodline. There are demons that are attached to your bloodline, and you need to get delivered from those demons. If you do not, they are going to keep persecuting you. You can be possessed through your bloodline, and you need to remember that. You can be possessed through your bloodline. So when you look at it, what did the demons do in King Solomon's life? David only had a few wives. King Solomon had 700 wives. if you inherited demons through your bloodline and you don't deal with them, they are going to cause more damage at your level than they did in the lives of your fathers. And if your children do not get delivered, they are going to cause even more damage in the life of your children than they will cause in your own life. That's how things are organized. So when there is a demon on your bloodline, you need to get delivered from that demon, or it's going to cause more damage to the next generation. Remember that. 8. So now we're going to study the different types of spirits. 8. A demon invited in a person's life through a curse or a spell is called for a specific type of action. There's no such thing as a generalist demon in Satan's kingdom. Every demon has one specialty and usually is very good at it. Okay, so I'm going to explain myself here. Sometimes you can get possessed through curses and spells. So when someone has cast a spell on you, the spell means that it's going to invite a specific type of demon to do something specific into your life. It can be a love spell where a demon comes and influences you to love someone, although you naturally have no feelings for that person. So it can be a love spell, or it can be I don't know. It can be an enslavement spell where someone just controls you and owns you. Okay. So I would like to mention, in Satan's kingdom and also in the kingdom of Jesus Christ, there's no such thing as a generalist demon or angel. Usually, every demon has a unique specialty and every angel has a unique specialty. Okay, so what was I saying? I made a pause. Excuse me. Yes. So in Satan's kingdom, there's no such thing as a generalist demon. Every single demon has a unique specialty and is very, very good at that specialty. Even in God's kingdom, the angel usually they have one specific specialty, because you know Satan copies the thing that God does. He's a copier because he has not a lot of, he doesn't have as much creativity as God, so he copies the things that God does and he learns from him. So in the kingdom of darkness, every demon has a specialty. So here I'm going to cite a few different kinds of demons that you will observe sometimes as you navigate through this journey of self-deliverance and this school of war. It's very hot. Marine spirits or water spirits. This is the first category of demons that I will talk about. Those spirits are associated with bodies of water and operate from rivers, lakes, seas, and other bodies of water. When oppressed or possessed by such spirits, one may have dreams where they see themselves near large bodies of waters like riversides or beaches. You may also see marine creatures in your dreams such as fishes or mermaids. Other times you will see yourself in dreams sleeping with beautiful creatures or beautiful people. You will sometimes have wet dreams. So when you are possessed by marine spirits, sometimes you will have wet dreams. Because those are demons that will come to sleep with you in the supernatural realm and create alliances and bonds with you to control your life. When water spirits come to you in dreams, they will manifest themselves sometimes as reptilian creatures with skin covered with scales. They may appear as fishes or sirens or even animals with characteristics associated with fishes and marine animals. So those are the water spirits, and usually there are many factions. I think that there are many factions in the kingdom of Satan. There is the air and the space kingdom, which is involved in the warfare against the angels. So they try their best to block the angels of God when they bring the answers to the prayers of the Christians. That happened in the book of Daniel when the demon fought an angel for 21 days. So that's the space kingdom. There's the earth kingdom, there's the forest kingdom, and there's the desert kingdom, but there's also the water kingdom. Believe me now, here on earth, the most powerful faction of Satan's kingdom, of Satan's empire, is the water kingdom. The most dangerous and the most powerful faction of Satan's empire is the water kingdom. They are specialized in human reproduction, so they are usually associated with any type of sin that is tied to human reproduction. anything that has to do with sex or families or reproduction, they attach to those type of things. So anything that involves lust, fornication, homosexuality, pedophilia, necrophilia, anything like that, any perversion like that, they are associated with that, because their specialty is human reproduction, and those are the water spirits. I'm going to give you a few images. So if you ever have a dream and it comes often where you see a siren or a mermaid near a beach, that might be a sign of demonic possession and oppression by water spirits. So you can see as you see it in that image here, right? And sometimes in some dreams you will see that when you are fighting against those kind of spirits, you will see that you are drifting on a raft or a little boat on a giant lake or river, and there's a mermaid surrounding you and trying to speak to you. That's another type of dream that you will have when you are dealing with those kind of spirits. You will also see creatures like that kind of fish. So when you are possessed by water spirits, you will see creatures like that in your dream. Creatures like that. And sometimes you may also see creatures like this one, reptilians. But when you see them, you are going to see that they appear to tie you and to bind you. They appear to hold your hands in order to enslave you. So when you see those type of reptilian creatures, you see that when you see them in your dreams, usually they will appear in order to try to tie you and hold you tight. And that's a sign of imprisonment in the marine kingdom. Sometimes here on earth you are free, but your soul or your spirit is held captive in the marine kingdom by those kind of creatures. And they are usually the servants of the mermaids, because there are many different levels of mermaids and they are the most powerful one. There are more powerful ones than others. One thing I want to mention when it comes to water spirits, especially the sirens or the mermaids, the greater the body of water to which a siren is attached, the more powerful that siren is. So a siren or a mermaid attached to a river is not going to be as powerful as a siren attached to a lake. And a siren attached to a lake is not going to be as powerful as a siren attached or associated to an ocean or a sea. So if you have the falls like the falls of Nicaragua, I think if there is a water spirit there, that spirit is never going to be as powerful as a spirit that controls the Atlantic Ocean. The highest levels of water spirits are the ones who control entire seas and oceans. So over the Pacific Sea, we can see that there's a specific type of mermaid. Over the Atlantic Sea, there's another mermaid. The more powerful a water spirit is, the greater the bodies of water to which that kind of spirit is attached. So let's move forward. Now, as I mentioned before, you have the sleeper agents. Just as monitoring spirits, I will speak of the monitoring spirits later. Their main goal is surveillance. The main difference is that monitoring spirits will monitor and observe their victims or targets from outside, while the sleeper agents observe their victims and monitor their targets from inside. They live in the bodies of their victims to better monitor their lives. Sleeper agents, as I said before, at the first level of demonic possession, sleeper agents will make themselves as small and quiet as possible, as long as their victim is on the way to hell. So with those type of demons, you will never know that they are there into your life or that they are possessing you. As long as you walk in sin and you are walking away from Jesus Christ, they are never going to disturb you. That's why because sometimes Christians ask, how do people who don't have Jesus Christ live such peaceful lives? That's because many of them are controlled by sleeper agents. Sleeper agents are never going to disturb you as long as you stay away from the Lord Jesus Christ. They are always going to leave you alone. As long as you stay away from Jesus Christ, they are never going to disturb you. They will activate themselves and will put more pressure only if their victim starts to get closer to Jesus Christ. Yes, as long as you stay away from Jesus, they are not going to bother you. But the moment you decide to take your relationship with Jesus seriously, that was for sleeper agents. Now, the familiar spirits. Pay attention to this category of spirit. They are specialized in camouflage and transfiguration. They are capable of replicating to the near perfection the appearance and the voice of people deceased or alive people, living people, close to their victims. They know how to even replicate the memories of the personality of a human being in an almost perfect way. They are so good at their job that without the Holy Spirit it is impossible to distinguish them from the people whose appearance and identity they are stealing or they are replicating. They often appear to witches and occult practitioners, disguising themselves as the spirit of their deceased relatives or their ancestors, in order to teach them black magic and other rituals. Familiar spirits are the reason behind the numerous apparitions of ghosts. Their ability to replicate the appearance of human beings allows them to master this role perfectly. So what are familiar spirits? It is a kind of spirit that specializes in disguise and transfiguration. They know how to replicate and copy at an almost perfect level the appearance, the personality and the identity of a human being, even your voice. So let's say that if a familiar spirit wants you to replicate my identity, you are going to be speaking to me in real life. You are going to assume it is me, because the familiar spirits are so good at their roles that you are never going to know that you are speaking to someone else. You are going to assume that it was me, because physically you saw me, the voice was me, even the personality type, all of this was me. So you are never going to know that you are talking to a spirit. Familiar spirits are very dangerous, and it is a category that I hate a lot, because when you are fighting against them and they try to get to you in your dreams, you don't know if you are fighting against a person or a demon. That's why I hate them so much. Sometimes they can take the appearance of someone that you know and you appreciate in real life, someone you have no problem with you, and you're going to assume that that's a familiar spirit, although it's not the case. It's not a familiar spirit. I mean, you're going to assume that it is a human being, although it is a familiar spirit that you are dealing with in that way.
Je suis sûr, donc si je n'oublie pas.
Nathan, non, je te la travaille. D'accord, je vais voir. So, familiar spirits have a specialty. They know how to disguise themselves. And sometimes, when people start witchcraft, usually they are going to come to you, they are going to present themselves to you as your guiding spirits. And some of them, if they want to deceive you, they are going to take the appearance of your deceased ancestors or relatives. They are going to tell you, I am this grandmother or this great grandmother or this uncle or this aunt, and now I'm going to reveal to you mysteries. They are going to use the word mysteries, and that's how demons initiate a lot of people into occultism and witchcraft. Familiar spirits are going to pretend to be your deceased relatives, and they are going to tell you that they want to teach you mysteries. What they mean by mysteries almost all the time is witchcraft and Satanism. And familiar spirits are also the reason behind the apparition of ghosts, right? Because they are good at their role and they know how to take and copy the appearance of human beings. So sometimes when you see ghost activities or paranormal activities, what you're watching is familiar spirits, because they can replicate the appearance of deceased people. They know how to copy the identity of people. So those are the familiar spirits. Now, the called spirits. This category is a little bit special, so pay attention. They specialize themselves in astral projection. That's their unique type of specialty. After the fall of man, the natural connection between the soul and the spirit was cut by the Lord. It is thus impossible for a human being to get out of his physical body and to consciously and willingly control and use his invisible body. The calls or the string spirits allow humans to go on that roadblock that roadblock by allowing people to project themselves outside of their bodies at will and to fully control their spiritual bodies. The God spirits can control what the humans they project can see and experience. Most of the time, they never allow those humans to see or interact with the angels of the Lord, because those angels will almost immediately begin to preach to those human beings the gospel of Jesus Christ. What was I saying? Okay. On the left side, you have the physical body of a human being. On the right side, you have the spirit or the invisible body of that person. So, a human being is composed of three parts: the body, the spirit, and the soul. The soul is like the central computer which controls both bodies, and the two bodies are like envelopes. They are like puppets in the hands of the soul. So the soul controls both. But after the fall of man, what happened? God did not want human beings to have access to the supernatural realm, because if they did so, they would be able to communicate with angels and demons, and the demons will begin to deceive people and teach them witchcraft. God wanted to avoid that. So after sin came into the world, before he kicked, after it, I don't know if it was before or after, but when he kicked Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, he cut the connection between the soul and the spirit, not the connection between the body and the soul. Because when you cut that connection, that means physical death. So the spirit and the body are always connected, because when that connection is cut, it means you're physically dead. But the Lord cut the connection between the soul and the spirit. So what a cold spirit or a string spirit is going to do is that it is going to allow you to establish that connection back. So now you can get out of your body and you can control it at will. You can willingly and fully control your invisible body. You can get out of your body and see what's happening in the spiritual realm. If you look at the middle of the picture, I draw a gray line, and that line is called the silver cord. King Solomon spoke about that in Ecclesiastes. He said you need to turn to the Lord before the silver cord of existence is cut. I believe that King Solomon at some point was initiated into witchcraft by his wives, and he was able to astrally project. That's how he knew about the silver cord. So this cord is what ties your body to your spirit. And when a witch gets out of his body, or if some of you, when you were into the world, if you have already experienced astral projection, you will see that there is a cord linking your soul or your spirit to your physical body. Even those who have near-death experience talk about those type of things. They say that when they get out of their bodies, they see some kind of cord, some kind of umbilical cord that ties the spirit to the physical bodies. That's called the silver cord. So a cord spirit, as you can see it in the middle in the right, a cord spirit allows you to overcome the roadblock that God established when He cut the connection between your soul and your spirit. A cord spirit allows you to willingly control your spirit and to get out of your body and go and do things and stuff. Now the catch, as I said, is that those spirits, because they help you, they can control what your invisible body can see and can do. It's kind of like they are putting you in the theater, and they can control everything that you see and everything that you hear or you smell. So what those spirits are going to do is that they are almost never going to allow you to interact with the angels of Jesus Christ. That's why most of the time when people astrally project outside of their bodies, they never get to see angels. The only cases where you are going to see angels is usually when you try to go against a Christian. Now you are going to see an angel of glory and light appearing between you and that Christian. That's the only time you are going to see angels. But most of the time, the core spirit that help you to get out of your body, they are going to blind you to the presence of angels. They have the power to do that. And they do that because they want to avoid you communicating with angels. They know that if you start to speak with angels, those angels will immediately begin to preach to you the gospel of Jesus Christ. And since they do not want you to be saved, they are going to blind you to the presence of angels. So when you astrally project, you are never going to see angels. They are never going to allow you to see them. They are going to hide them very well. So those are the god spirits. So their specialty is to help witches and human beings get out of their bodies. That's their specialty. Now you have the hunting spirits. The hunting spirit, they often come in the dreams of a victim with the appearance of big dogs, wild cats, seeking to devour them or hurt them in any way. They often appear beside witches and warlocks that they accompany in their mission against Christians and other people. Those types of spirits are conceived for attack and aggressiveness. If you fought against witchcraft at some point in your life, if you had to fight against witchcraft, sometimes you might have dreams where you saw someone coming to attack you in your house, and that person came with a big dog or a big cat to attack you, so that the dog or the cat can bite you. Those are hunting spirits, and they are almost like pets, company animals for witches and warlocks. They are almost like pets. Usually they look like this. You see that picture? They look like big cats or big dogs. You see that? That's kind of how they look like. They have very long tails and their ears are pointy. They look like that. Yeah, kind of like that, like this wolf here. You see that? Maybe the size is a little bit over exaggerated, but they are usually very big in size. So when you see those kind of spirits into your dream, you will see just like this image that they are usually coming with a person. So a person comes to attack you, and that person brings with them those type of creatures, and they are called the hunting spirits. They are there to help the witches fight you and destroy you. You see that? Okay. So those are the hunting spirits. When they appear into your dreams, you will usually see cat-like animals, or you will see animals that look like panthers or dogs or wolves. Those are hunting spirits. They are used for hunt. The monitoring spirits. This is very well known, I think. The monitoring spirits. Their main goal is to monitor all aspects of the life of their victims. They can do it from the supernatural realm, from the supernatural realms, but also from the physical realm through people. So sometimes the monitoring spirits can observe you through other people, but they can also do it from the spiritual realm. The technologies that they use to observe and monitor human beings are millions of years ahead of anything that humans have right now. They intervene in surveillance and monitoring, and they notify other groups of demons when the victim is getting closer to the will of God or is about to go to the next step of his life. The goal is to create as much disruption as possible in the life of the victim. So what are monitoring spirits? They specialize in monitoring and surveillance. So what they're going to do is that they're going to watch you. Everything that you do daily, they watch it. And as soon as you're about to get to the next step, they're going to alert other groups of demons to come and attack you and destroy you, so you stay at the level where you are. So their main goal is disruption. They survey you and they monitor you to prevent you from getting closer to your destiny or to the will of God. And those are the monitoring spirits. And as I said, they can observe you through other people, or they can do it from the supernatural realm. The technologies is more advanced than what any intelligence agency on earth here has. They are more advanced than the CIA or the KGB or the DGSE, la DGSE. They are more advanced than any intelligence agency that you have here on earth. And they can monitor the entire human race. They have in their computers, in the invisible realm, in the kingdom of Satan, they have in their computers the genetic data of all human beings that existed at some point. Because they monitor people. Every single sin that you did on earth, they monitor it and they see it. That's why on Judgment Day, if you do not have Jesus Christ, you are not going to be able to defend yourself, because every single thing that you did here on earth, they saw it and they record it and they have it there in the database. So those are monitoring spirits. the masking or the disguising spirits. What do they do and what are they exactly? This category is specialized in the disguise and the shape-shifting of human spirits. They help witches and occult practitioners to transform themselves into animals and other creatures so they can go on their different missions. The truth is that sometimes the animals that you see in your dreams are demons and human spirits disguised as animals. They shapeshift into ravens, owls, rats, roach, ants or lizards and other type of creatures. The masking spirits allow witches to operate against their victims while keeping their identities hidden. So sometimes when a witch wants to attack you, she's not going to come to you with a true identity in your dream. She's going to hide herself, and she will do that by using a masking or a disguising spirit in order to transform herself into a different animal, a different species. So sometimes when a witch attacks you, what you're going to see is not a human being coming to you, but you're going to see a bird, like a raven or an owl. You will see a bird or a rat or a lizard or many ants inside your house. That's what you're going to see. The masking and the disguising spirits are the reason behind this. They help people, they help occult practitioners to shape-shift into different species before they enter. And they do that because they don't want you to know their identities. They want to attack you while keeping their identities anonymous, because they don't want you to know about them. So they are going to shape-shift into different species, and then they are going to come into your house to attack you. So those are the masking spirit or the disguising spirits. You have the warrior spirits. There's this category and one more left. You have the warrior spirits. What do? They do not often appear to human beings because their main goal is to wage war against the angels of the Lord from the supernatural realm. They operate in the first and the second heavens, and they disrupt communications between Christians and the kingdom of heaven. They often try to disrupt the prayers of Christians and to block the answers brought by the angels to those prayers. The perfect example of that kind of demon is the demon who wrestled with the angel for 21 days to stop the angel who was bringing the answers to the prayers of Daniel. So I talked about the space kingdom earlier. So you have the warrior angels. Their specialty is war, literally. They are there to fight against the angels of the Lord, and they are there to disrupt the communication between Christians and God. So when a Christian prays, they are going to do their best to block the prayers of that Christian. And if that Christian still reaches the heavens and the angels are coming back with the answer, they are going to do their best to try to block the angels, to fight back the angels, to send them back. All of this help them to disrupt the evolution of the Church of Jesus Christ. So when you pray, sometimes maybe your angel is wrestling against a warrior spirit, and that's the reason why your prayers are being delayed so much. That's because your angel is wrestling against a warrior spirit, a warrior demon. And those demons are usually very powerful because they are designed to fight against the angels of the Lord. So they are very powerful beings, usually. That your prayers can still destroy them because there is nothing that we cannot do through the power of Jesus Christ. So those are the warrior spirits. Their specialty is war against Christians and the angels especially. And as I said many times, they will not come to you into your dreams to attack you because they are not focused on you. They are mainly focused against your angels. The war effort is mainly focused against your prayers and your angels. So we fight from the backside. So you have the witches, the warlocks and everything. That's the first line. You have the familiar spirit, the monitoring spirit. That's the first line of attack. The second line is the warrior spirits. And I will give another category of spirits. The enslavers or the hypnotist spirits. Those spirits have the ability to hypnotize human beings and push them to do specific actions. They are the spirits behind love spells, which can cause a human being to fall in love with another human being. They are specialists at influencing human beings, and they are often used by witches and warlocks to enslave some people, to cast love spells on others and to influence others. Enslavers can act on specific individuals, and the most powerful ones can also influence entire group of human beings or even cities and nations and push them to do unspeakable and inhuman deeds. A good example is that of the crowds. Sorry, I said the crowd, but I meant the crowd. The crowds who followed Jesus Christ while he was preaching, and yet on the crucifixion day, they all voted for his death. Those people were under demonic influence. That's an example, right? Imagine people who applauded you for your 3 years of ministry. They followed you, they applauded you, and they saw your miracle. Yet, on the day of your death, they all voted for your death. Those people were influenced by hypnotic spirits. Those kind of spirits can influence the human emotions. They can model your emotions and your desires to push you to do something. So as I said, they can also influence cities and nations. And sometimes when you see that there's a genocide somewhere, those spirits are involved. They are involved. Because you have people that you assume are normal, and one day out of nowhere you see them waking up and they start to massacre hundreds of people for no reason. This is due to demonic activity, the demonic activity of the hypnotic spirits and the enslavers. And those spirits usually work in groups. When their goal is to cause massacre and destruction, there are other spirits there to gather all the blood that they spill. Because the kingdom of Satan needs human blood. That's like a fuel. Human blood is to the kingdom of Satan what oil is to the kingdoms of the world, the nations of the world. So they need oil just as they need blood just as much as we need oil to survive. That's their fuel. That's the oil. Blood is like the oil. So the more blood they shed, the more powerful they get. So hypnotic spirits, when they are there to kill people, they usually work with other groups of spirits. They work together. So those are a few categories of spirits, but you need to know that in the kingdom of Satan and God, there are millions of categories and subcategories of angels and demons. There are millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of categories of angels and demons. So I cannot do everything here. It will be too long. But those are the few categories that you can know about. Now, on 9, the 9th thing you need to know about demonic possession. If a man is delivered and he returns to his old sinful lifestyle, the demons that God kicked out of him will return with spirits 7 times as powerful as them to have more control over the man's life. Their goal is usually to kill the man while he's still living that life of sin, so he does not have another chance to repent. I think Jesus Christ talked about that in the book of Matthew. He said, if an evil spirit gets kicked out, he will wander in the wild and the dry places, and then he will find no peace and he will return to his home. He sees that the home is empty, he gets back in. The home being empty is the man choosing to go back to his life of sin. Because when you live in sin, if you are a Christian, the Holy Spirit might still be there, but it's no longer on the driver's seat, it's on the passenger seat. And demons now start to have the control over your life. So if you got delivered and you return back to the things that you used to do, your second state is going to be worse. So if you struggle with lust and you choose to return back to lust, your second state is going to be worse, because the demons that you kicked out is going to return with spirits 7 times as powerful as him. This time their goal is to make sure you do not escape them, you do not escape their control. So when they get back inside you, they are going to bring back more powerful spirits than them. And when they do that, they don't just try to enslave you, they are going to try to kill you if possible. Especially if you are a Christian and if the call of God is on your life, they are going to kill you. So let me tell you, especially for people who have been involved at some point in witchcraft, if you repent, I beg you, do not go back. Never go back. Because if you go back, they are going to kill you to make sure you don't have another chance to repent. And when they kill you, you will go right to hell. there's not a second chance. So if you know that the call of God is on your life and you left witchcraft, never go back. Because as a witch, you have more information on the kingdom than any other kind of Christian. And they know that. So if you return to those things, they are going to kill you. That's a death sentence for you. So do not even think about that. Okay? So if you got delivered, I beg you, do your best to not go back to your old lifestyle. Because your second state will be worse, and if you are a Christian, they are going to kill you in that state of sin while you return at it. Because they don't want you to have another opportunity to repent and go to heaven. So they are going to kill you when you are in that state of sin in order to make sure you go right to hell. Do not go back to your sin. Stay close to Jesus Christ, I beg you. 10. The 10 things to know. The best way to avoid demonic possession is to stay close to Jesus Christ and have a lifestyle of prayer, Bible study, and the most important, sanctification. As I said in the beginning, if you live in sanctification, you are like a bright flame in the spiritual realm. They cannot even approach you. They cannot get close to you. You need to live in sanctification. That's the best way to be protected against witchcraft and demonic possession. That's the best way by far. It is also important to practice self-deliverance on a weekly basis. The reason why I say that is that during the week, you might have committed a sin. You might have thoughts of maybe lust, maybe a lie that you told, or maybe someone pissed you off and you have hatred in your heart against them. You need to pray for that, and when you pray, you also need to ask God to kick out any spirit that had access to your life or your body during that time of weakness. Because the devil is like a roaring, is like a lion. He's roaming around you, seeking for the perfect opportunity to get inside. So you need to practice self-deliverance if possible on a weekly basis. That's one more advice I will give to you. Now I'm going to talk about 4 different types of demonic possession. There's demonic possession by sin. What I mean by sin is I'm speaking of the sin that are done outside of your body, and I'm going to give a few examples. So there's the sins like jealousy, envy, hatred, and murder, lies, manipulation, pride, selfishness, dishonesty, stealing. I said pride 2 times. Pride and arrogance. So those are sins that usually don't involve your body, like the sexual sins, and they are done outside of your body. Those sins can bring demonic possession. Cain killed Abel because he was demonically possessed. He had jealousy in his heart, and because he refused to deal with it, that jealousy became resentment and hatred, and that hatred became a murder. So when you live in sin, you open doorways and you give legal permission to Satan to possess and control certain parts of your body or your life. That's why you need to live in sanctification. The second type of demonic possession is the possession by sex. And in that area, there are 3 categories of sexual sin. There are 3 major categories. The first category only involves yourself. I'm speaking of self-pleasure and lustful thoughts. The thoughts of lust that you have about women or men or other people. So the first category is thoughts of lust or masturbation. When you satisfy yourself, when you touch yourself, that's a sin. That's a sin. Because sex was designed for reproduction, not just for self-satisfaction. The main purpose of sex is reproduction. So if you do it outside of the context of marriage, it becomes a sin. So that's the first category. The second category is fornication and adultery. Yes, that's when you start to sleep with other people. Because in the first category, you are only doing things with yourself. In the second category, you start to sleep with other people. And in the second category, there is also bisexuality, there's homosexuality, there's pedophilia. That's the second category. In the first 2 categories, you are only involved with human beings, but in the third category, which is the worst, you start to get involved with all types of of weird things, of strange things. You have bestiality, those who sleep or those who fantasize of sleeping with animals. That's bestiality. You have necrophilia, those who sleep with dead people or cadavers, dead bodies. That exists. You have necrophilia and you have other kinds of weird fantasies. And I think that serial killers are usually at that level of sin, because sometimes when they kill their victims, they rape them. That's necrophilia. And in that category, usually you no longer are interested in living people or human beings. You are interested in all kinds of strange things. That's the worst level of sexual sin, and that type of level is going to bring very powerful demons to control your life. Usually, those who are possessed by that level are serial killers or occult practitioners, because to get more powers from Satan, they have to do all kinds of weird rituals, like sleeping with dogs or pigs or all kinds of animals. Okay. The third type of demonic possession, that's something I needed to talk about. Demonic possession by bloodline. Sometimes the reason why you are possessed is not necessarily because you sinned, but because of your blood, because of your genes, because of the bloodline from which you came. You know, when it comes to witchcraft, some people, to get more power, they sign contracts with demons, and in some lines of those contracts, it is written that those demons have now the right, they obtain rights and powers over the entire bloodline of that person. So anyone who was born from that person onward, they have rights and powers over those people. So if your great grandmother was a witch and she signed that kind of contract, it is possible that you inherited demons into your life for her, because you are connected to her by your bloodline. Sometimes the reason you are possessed is not because you sin, but because of your bloodline. You need to get deliverance even in those types of cases. So there are generational curses, there are altars inherited through witchcraft, as I spoke. So witches sometimes they create altars, and those altars stay over their bloodline for generations, and you need to destroy those altars to get delivered. Spells, curses, the altars inherited through sex, yes. Sometimes maybe your ancestors or your parents slept with the wrong person. They slept with someone who was demonically possessed, and because of that, and because maybe that thing happened outside of the context of marriage, I don't know, because of that, you inherited demons from your from the parent that was contaminated. One parent might be living in sanctification, and he or she chooses to sleep with someone who is not a believer, and that non-believer will transmit demons to you. So you will inherit it. So you will inherit those demons through your bloodline. That's the third type of demonic possession through your bloodline. The fourth type, demonic possession by curses and spells. Yes. That's what witches use most of the time to get their powers. So they perform all kinds of strange rituals to call demons to come live in them and give them more power. That's how they get their power. The more diffuse the rituals performed, the more powerful the curse or the spell, and the more powerful the demon invoked. Sometimes witches, when they want to get more power, they do all kinds of rituals, and they invite demons to live in their bodies. And when a witch can cast a spell on you, that spell can bring a specific kind of demon to possess you and to control your life. So there's demonic possession through curses and spells. Spells like love spells, where someone casts a spell on you and that brings a demon to act against you. But as I said, after we studied all of this, I will repeat myself and I will end on those words. If you want to avoid demonic possession and oppression, you need to live in sanctification. This is by far the most simple way to stay away from demons and to be protected from witchcraft. This is by far the best way to keep demons away. You need to live in sanctification, and you need to take your life and your work with Jesus Christ very seriously. So I'm going to end the videos here. In the next study, See you for the next video, and I hope that this series called War School will truly help you to navigate yourself through your journey of self-deliverance, and also how to deliver your family, how to pray for your family and your friends, and even your church and even your country. We'll study all of that later, but for now I am on self-deliverance. I will teach you how to self-deliver yourself. Thank you.